What is going on, guys? It is Nick here with Nick's Topics, back with another Walking Dead What If topic video. And today, we got a topic concerning pretty much the main character of the series, and a topic that could have possibly been brought up, almost unlikely. What if Rick was saved by the Reapers instead of Jadis? Now, from you guys reading the title and hearing what just came out of my mouth, I bet you're wondering, why would the Reapers ever save someone? See, here's how the story came to be. I'll explain a little before we get into it. Basically, I had been thinking about a topic concerning Rick because I was kind of running out of ideas at the moment, and I thought about Rick getting saved by another group in Season 9 besides Jadis, for her trading him to get into the CRM. And at first, I thought, and you guys are gonna agree with me on this one, the Whisperers saving him, but that would absolutely never happen any way, shape, or form, because Alpha wouldn't even bother. He would see him as a letdown, a weakling, pretty much useless. So, my next idea was the Commonwealth. And I think I'm going to do that in the next video, question mark? But that would have to be after a what if, once again, recommended to me. I'll shout it out in a future video, but I'm not going to get too into it until like the end of the video. But yeah, my first idea, and like the only major groups that would be left, would be like the Reapers. So I figured I would go with that idea, and yeah, we'll see where it takes us. So let's dive in. We open up right whenever Rick shoots down the bridge and everybody thinks that he is dead. I don't know why in that part everyone didn't just go looking to see if he somehow was alive. I get that it was Andrew Lincoln's exit of the series, but it would have made more sense rather than just seeing if he was dead. But you know what, I'm not going to get into that. But this time, whenever he blows up the bridge, Jadis is still close to the area, but she doesn't get to him before the Reapers do. The Reapers are actually close in that area at the time, and they go and save him. Jadis is snuck up on by one of the Reapers and is abruptly killed. And what about the helicopter, you might ask? Well, that gets taken down rather easily by all the Reapers, because I'm sure besides melee weapons, they would have had a smarter tactic on how to take that helicopter down too, because they would have seen it. I don't think that they would just have let it gotten away or gone down. I'm sure the helicopter guy didn't even care about Jadis. The guy in the helicopter was already skeptical as to, like, her tricks and everything else, too. He even stated it himself right before she asked if she could save Rick. But yeah, the Reapers kill Jadis, and they're the ones who save Rick instead. None of the other people in the group suspecting anything because, like I said, at that time, they had thought he was dead. So, yeah. After the Reapers find Rick almost dead, they bring him to the base, and Rick is introduced to all the Reapers, and then Pope, the leader, asks the whole deal about, like, well, first he's patched up, obviously, because he was near death. And after a few weeks or months of this, Rick is finally recovered. Pope tests him. Rick joins the Reapers because, you know, he's pretty much the most, like, enduring, if not able-bodied person, even though at that time in the series he was getting old. But yeah, he passes the test. He's asked the whole schmeal about if he believes in God and stuff like that. I definitely think Rick would say no on that one. He would say about his family and that he wanted to get back to them, but he said Pope basically tells him that since they saved him, if those people may be a threat to them, so it's best that Rick just stays with them because he pretty much owes his life to them because they rescued him. And Rick agrees to this for now. Rick is also taught better combat skills, of course, by Carver, pretty much the most skilled fighter there. Now, you guys might be asking, or you might already be thinking, is Leah there with the Reapers yet? Well, no. Because, if you guys remember in a Season 10 flashback, Daryl, whenever he was out looking for Rick and went off on his own for God knows how long, it was like a 6-year time skip. So, for that period of time, he was out, and Leah was also out on her own before the Reapers eventually, got her. Or not got her, but saved her, since she was all by herself. So, for a good amount of time, like a good long amount of time, Daryl and Leah would be around each other, and Leah would not join the Reapers yet. But that would happen eventually. Now, you guys might be asking, or I always say this, but it's just like a phrase for, like, just people having questions, like in the series. It's better for me to clarify. So that's why, if you guys get annoyed with me saying that, just say in the comments. But it just feels more right for me to say that, like, to explain to you guys. Anyway, you guys might be wondering, what happens to, like, the Alpha part of the story and that part? Does that stay the same, or does it change? Well, since Rick is still gone from the group, nothing would really change, honestly. So everything past that point, up until Season 11, whenever the Reapers actually make their entrance, would remain the same. So the Reapers would make their entrance. After everything is the same in the story, Rick would also be a cloaked figure, which is kind of a shock to see Rick as a cloaked Reaper. But he would have been with the group for a long time. He would have somewhat gotten used to this new lifestyle, because again, he pretty much owes his life to that group. And the group wasn't necessarily bad to him. They were actually fairly nice. They were all like a family. Pope is a bit extreme, but they still relatively got along. He wasn't, but when he saw his group, especially Negan, out and about, he started to debate with himself whether to show his actual face. But he thought to himself, not yet. Let's see how my old family does and what they've learned, and then maybe I'll actually uncloak myself. So, yeah, that's pretty much what he does. And then everything past that point, up until the scene with Leah and the two Reapers and Carver on the ground, everything like that is the same, like I said, up until that point. And then, instead of Maggie actually shooting all of them, a voice cries out. And he abruptly says, "That's enough!" And he uncloaks himself, and lo and behold, it's Rick freaking Grimes, killing all three in the process. So that means, like my, Rick, didn't kill Shane, whatever part that was. I think it was like part 6, I would have to say? 7, question mark? But anyway, Leah is not going to be a part of the story anymore. Even though she didn't really play too big a part, like in the, Season 11, finale almost. But still, she's no longer part of the story. After this, Daryl doesn't even know, what to think. His best friend, his brother, after all these years, was alive. And he starts to cry, because obviously he would. And I bet that if Rick somehow does appear in the season finale, that is exactly how he would react, or anyone would react, seeing him alive. Anyway, he, asks Rick, what was that about? How are you even alive? Why are you with them? Pretty much berating with, questions. With, anger, happiness, sadness, all in one. And this would be a drastic, all-in-one emotion, change for Daryl. Even Maggie would start bawling, obviously, because she and Rick were still close. Not, couple close, but you know what I mean. And she would be just as upset, well, not upset, but, broken down and sad that and happy that Rick was actually alive. Negan, now you guys also might be asking, since Negan is actually up and about, how would this go down between the two of them? Would Rick immediately just kill Negan? Well, I'll get to that. Negan was surprised at first, but then smiles because even though he had not seen or heard from Rick in a long time, it doesn't really shock him too much because he knew how tough Rick was and what he did to him and his savior group and all that stuff. If he was like still season 9 Negan, it probably would be a little bit more like wanting to kill him and that kind of stuff. Elijah's on the ground, battered, broken, and beaten. He doesn't know what to think. He doesn't know why these people are getting so emotional. Father Gabriel sees this, comes down, and he's just as emotional. And I'm pretty much naming like all the characters that were close to the event. Now here's a big one. Does the Michonne and Virgil sequence still happen? Well, yes, but since Rick was with the Reapers and not taken to the CRM, she would not find his boots there. So, she would be able to come back a lot sooner. And, yeah, around that time, I think that Michonne would actually be back with the group, like, around the time that Rick actually revealed himself. And she would be just as freaking surprised and sad. She would be just as surprised and emotional that the man that she pretty much loved was actually still alive and with the Reaper group, even though she didn't even know about them. But yeah, she would be told everything, and yeah, they would embrace and talk about, like, everything. Rick would basically be told, like, the whole story, Negan saving Judith and just being much better than he was. Rick is glad to hear that Negan is pretty much a changed man and knows that him locking him in that cell was actually for the better, and keeping him alive was for the better. And Rick and Negan both shake hands, hug it out, because, you know, of course he would show gratitude for, like, him being a good part of the group. Also hearing about Negan killing Alpha and saving them from Alpha, so that would be good too. And he would go back with the group, and everyone would be shocked and surprised and emotional, like I said, to know that Rick was alive. We then catch up to the part of the story where the Commonwealth appears at Alexandria. And that's pretty much where the story wraps up, my friends. A few things to talk about before we wrap it up here. You guys might be asking, if this is going to be a second part, will it end up being the same as when you make the finale for the What If Rick Didn't Kill Shane series? Well, no, for a couple reasons. One, Carl isn't alive in this series like he is in the other one. What else? Negan is dead in that story, so that changes a bunch. Rick is still around, yes, but Michonne is actually around, because Michonne was killed in What If Rick Didn't Kill Shane, so there's a lot of changes. But, like What If Rick Didn't Kill Shane, I'm going to wait for Season 11 to fully come out before I wrap up that series and this series. Hey guys, it is Nick here with our next topics, Walking Dead What If topic video for today. That's right, The Walking Dead, is coming back for a little with two big what ifs, one of which being the highlight of my channel, which will be covered later next week, but that's a surprise. And this one being now the finale part of What If Rick was rescued by the Reapers instead of Jadis. Now you guys are probably wondering, hey Nick, I thought you were waiting till the rest of Season 11 came out to do this. Why are you doing it a few months early? Well, see, the thing is, I looked back at this particular What If and another one, and I realized that the material that was on it could be done without having to look into what could possibly be in the rest of Season 11. I didn't think that far ahead. So anyway, I'll explain why. But let's recap to what this what if actually entailed. We opened up in the last part with Rick, basically everything happening up until then. He shoots the bridge and the zombies and stuff with dynamite. Everything goes down per normal, but instead of being rescued by the Reapers, instead of being rescued by Jadis this time, Jadis gets close, and she's ready to trade him in and save his life, but then the Reapers show up, and they actually go in instead, killing off Jadis right then and there, and getting her out of the way, seeing her as a pest. Seeing Rick, and seeing him as a possible asset, Pope recruits him to the Reapers, and he gets combat training from Carver, the best combat professional of the group, even though they're all pretty good. Anyway, Rick is now a much stronger person than what he would possibly be if he came back in the Rick Grimes movies and stuff. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, but he's just a stronger person, alright? Anyway, everything with Alpha and the Whisperers goes down per normal. Everything goes right until the Reaper's introduction. And then Rick eventually reveals himself near the end at episode 11-9, when Maggie's having trouble, or Maggie's about to kill Leah and the other two Reapers. Everyone is shocked to see him alive and well, especially Negan, who is actually surprised at first, but happy because, well, he should have expected such from Rick Grimes. Everyone has a very emotional moment seeing Rick alive and well again, especially Daryl, because of all that time he went out looking for him. And then Rick learns about everything that's transpired since then from Daryl, Maggie, and them, and that Daryl went out looking for him ever since then. And Rick gives everyone a big hug. That'd be nice. Leah, I addressed, would be killed in the last episode because of Rick being there, and I feel like if he realized truly what the Reapers truly 110% were, and that they were trying to kill his family, Leah would have died in that crossfire. So yeah. Michonne would also come back earlier on, possibly in the same episode, whenever discovering that Rick is alive and with another group, because his shoes wouldn't be at the island and stuff, so she would come back way earlier. And they would hug it out, and Judith would actually get to meet her father, officially 100%, for the very first time. And they would have a very touching moment too. Now, if you guys are wondering why I didn't wait until season 11 came out, it's because when we get into the Commonwealth, that becomes tricky, or at least you would think. The Commonwealth, basically, it's an all-out war between all communities against the Commonwealth, or at least like Alexandria on its own, even with Rick and stuff. Now, I do not think that the Commonwealth would be hard here, because think about it. Rick being trained by someone like the Reapers, and just seeing what they had, like, what they were, and being with every other group, and just dealing with everything, no hesitation, he wouldn't want anyone to join their cause, want them to do anything. He would just be in the state of mind where he wouldn't care. So, the war would rage out, and the Commonwealth would be defeated by Rick and company. Because, like I said, being with the Reapers definitely change Rick's influence even more, and make him an even stronger person. Possibly him getting a little teaching class with combat professions and stuff, even though it wouldn't be for a bad cause, like the Reapers were. Anyway, the Commonwealth would be defeated, and it would be a very hard battle, a lot of casualties, but ultimately in the end, Rick and company would prevail, and The Walking Dead would be over. And that's where we end things. Now, you guys might think this is a bland ending to The Walking Dead, considering that, like I said, I didn't watch the end of Season 11 since it hasn't came out yet. But like I said, when I really looked back into it, I realized that the source material that was there for me and what I had already put could help me end the story. I just didn't want to see it because I didn't want to let myself see it until the end. And that's going to be the same with another What If coming next week. Like I said, I don't want to give it away just yet. There will be a few more What Ifs here and there before then, but still, be prepared, because a big one to my original series for this channel is coming up. What did you guys think about the series? Did you enjoy it? Leave a comment, and I'll see you next time.